Good evening. By three methods we may learn wisdom. First by reflection, which is noblest. Second by imitation, which is easiest. And third by experience, which is the bitterest. Welcome to BMC News Live in English, brought to you by Al Hilal Hospital and Medical Centers. I am Vinod Narayan, joining you with the daily news updates. Today's headlines. The Prime Minister's Office announced end of registration for Prime Minister's Fellowship Program. National Health Regulatory Authority Chief hailed decision to scrutinize academic qualifications. Saudi Aramco gold sponsor for Bahrain International Air Show 2022. School day and the timing of bus departures have been rescheduled starting from Thursday 15. Kuwait authorities moved to speed up deportation of illegals. Casket of Queen Elizabeth II arrived at Buckingham Palace. News in detail. The Prime Minister's Office announced end of registration for Prime Minister's Fellowship Program. The Prime Minister's Office has announced the end of the registration period for the 8th edition of the Prime Minister's Fellowship Program. The program is an important pillar of His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister's initiative to strengthen and develop the skill set of the Kingdom's national workforce, who remain a valuable asset to Bahrain's ongoing development. Registration for the 8th edition of the program took place August 13 to September 13 and has witnessed more than 2,000 applicants from across various government agencies. All applicants are subject to a rigorous evaluation process that includes personal interviews and aptitude tests in preparation for the final selection of the candidates of the 8th intake of the program. The Prime Minister's Fellowship Program is an ambitious program which aims to enhance public sector employees' leadership skills. The program also permits fellows to become acquainted with government policy making and the implementation of government-related projects. National Health Regulatory Authority Chief hailed decision to scrutinize academic qualifications. The decision of the Cabinet, chaired by His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, to scrutinize academic degrees was hailed. National Health Regulatory Authority Chief Executive Officer Dr. Mariam Abdi Al-Jalkhma said that the step would fast-track the verification of certificates issued by higher education institutions from inside and outside the Kingdom of Bahrain. She commended the successive initiatives of Team Bahrain to develop government services and facilitate procedures in line with the goals of the development process led by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and the directives of His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister. She highlighted NHRA's role in verifying the competence of health professionals before granting them a license to practice the profession in the Kingdom of Bahrain after they undergo a licensure examination. The regulatory authority also requires qualifications, certificates of experience and previous practice, a certificate of good conduct and behavior from the licensed entity or bodies in the last place of work, in order to verify the absence of previous violations or disciplinary sanctions. In addition to a copy of current practice license, it verifies the validity of qualifications by checking from the source, and in case some documents are not clear, it requests any other documents that it deems important for granting the license. She noted the role of the GCC notification system for every professional who has been proven to have submitted any forged documents or whose license has been withdrawn from any of the member countries. Saudi Aramco gold sponsor for Bahrain International Air Show 2022. Transportation and Telecommunications Minister Mohammed bin Tamer Al Kabi has hailed the remarkable turnout to participate in the Bahrain International Air Show 2022 to be held under the patronage of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa on November 9 to 11 at Sakir Air Base. The turnout success is the outcome of the efforts by the exhibition's higher organizing committee headed by His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the personal representative of His Majesty the King, and the Bahrain International Air Show's work team at the Ministry in cooperation with the Royal Bahrain Air Force, he added. The efforts have succeeded in attracting leading companies in the aviation sector, the minister said as he received Fahad Al Abdul Karim, the Vice President of Industrial Services Organization at Saudi Aramco, and Jamal Al Khudair, Director of Governmental Affairs at Saudi Aramco. The meeting reviewed Aramco's preparations for its participation as a gold sponsor of Bahrain International Air Show 2022 and its aviation sector stand displaying helicopters and jet aircraft owned by the company. The participation of Gulf and international companies in the show confirms their significant role in supporting the international initiatives and events organized and hosted by Bahrain, which reflects the importance of attracting visitors to the kingdom and strengthening its regional and global standing, the minister said. The Aramco Vice President expressed pleasure to participate in Bahrain International Air Show 2022 that highlights the latest developments in the aviation sector. Southern governors trust keenness on catering to citizens' needs. Southern Governor His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Ali bin Khalifa Al Khalifa received at his Majlis today a number of citizens in the presence of his Deputy Brigadier Isa Thamir Al Dosri, a number of officials from the Governorate and Security Coordination Officer. His Highness the Southern Governor welcomed the citizens, stressing keenness on promoting the approach of communicating with them through direct meeting to assess their needs, in implementation of the directives of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and the follow-up of His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, Crown Prince and Prime Minister. His Highness affirmed the Governorate's keenness on continuous communication with citizens through direct meetings. He pointed out the interest in reaching out to citizens and catering to their needs through various channels, smart applications and field visits. He also listened to proposals by the citizens, asserting close follow-up on all the remarks through coordination with the competent authorities. For their part, the audience thanked His Highness the Southern Governor for his unflinching keenness to meet the citizens and assess their needs. Foreign Ministry held webinar. The human rights sector at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, headed by Ambassador Dr. Arwa Hassan Al Sayed, held a webinar today for all ministries and entities concerned with implementing the projects of the National Human Rights Plan. The virtual seminar reflects keenness of the High Coordination Committee for Human Rights, headed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to ensure the follow-up and implementation of the projects of the National Human Rights Plan for the period 2022 to 2026. The seminar presented the e-platform for implementing the plan's projects, which was launched by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to facilitate the process of updating information on completed projects by the relevant entities. School day and the timing of bus departures have been rescheduled starting from Thursday, 15th. Director General of Schools Affairs at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Muhammad Mubarak bin Ahmed, has announced that the school day and the timing of bus departures has been rescheduled starting from Thursday, 15. The move aims to ensure the interests of students and parents while maintaining the quality of the educational process and achieving coordination and integration among government departments in a way that contributes to providing the necessary flexibility in traffic, especially at peak times. The facilitating the movement of school buses to and from public schools. According to Education Ministry's decision, the school day shall begin at 7:05 a.m. at all public educational institutions and end at 12:35 p.m. at primary schools, 1:30 p.m. at intermediate schools and 2:15 p.m. at secondary schools and the religious and Jafari institutes. Regarding technical schools, the timings of the school day will remain unchanged from 7:05 a.m. to 1:45 for morning period students and from 2 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. for the evening period students. Regarding buses, Dr. Muhammad Mubarak bin Ahmed said they will leave at 6:10 a.m. for intermediate and secondary students, 5:45 a.m. for secondary and technical students, and at the same time for the primary, intermediate and secondary students of the religious and Jafari institutes. He added, all buses will leave schools before peak times, which will ease traffic and strengthen partnership with other government entities. Political Affairs Under Secretary led Bahrain's delegation to 6th political consultations with Japan. The sixth round of political consultations between the Kingdom of Bahrain and Japan was held under the chairmanship of the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Political Affairs, Dr. Sheikh Abdullah bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, and the Assistant Foreign Minister and Director General for Middle Eastern and African Affairs Bureau at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, Nagaoka Kensuke, at the ministry's headquarters here. During the meeting, the Undersecretary commended the long-standing relations between Bahrain and Japan and the progress they are witnessing in various fields in order to activate the Memorandum of Understanding on Political Consultations signed on the sidelines of the visit of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa to Tokyo on April 11, 2012. The two sides noted the tangible process in bilateral cooperation in conjunction with the Golden Jubilee of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two friendly countries and activating more than 17 signed agreements and memoranda of understanding in various fields, in addition to coordinating diplomatic positions to support regional and global peace and security efforts. The two sides discussed means to enhance economic cooperation and encourage bilateral trade. Bahrain attended ceremony commemorating Abraham Records. Bahrain's ambassador to Belgium, Abdullah bin Faisal bin Jaber Al Dosari, participated in the ceremony held by the Belgian Parliament on the occasion of the second anniversary of the signing of the Abraham Accords at the headquarters of the Belgian Parliament in the capital, Brussels. The event was attended by ambassadors of the United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Morocco, the United States of America, the Republic of Hungary, and the Deputy Ambassador of the State of Israel to Belgium. A number of parliamentarians, Belgian and European officials, media officials, and the local and international press were also present. The event was organized by the Belgian Member of Parliament Michael Felage and Senator Cor van Loof of the Flemish Parliament. Women Police delegation participated in international conference. A delegation from the General Directorate of Women Police has participated in the 59th session of the Global Women Police Conference, which was organized by the International Association of Women Police. Director General of Women Police, Brigadier Mona Ali Abdul Rahim, highlighted the importance of participating in such conferences to promote cooperation and exchange expertise in women's empowerment. She said the event is considered an opportunity to learn about police experiences in various countries. The Bahrain International Air Show and Gulf International Bank signed partnership agreement. The Bahrain International Air Show and Gulf International Bank have signed a partnership agreement under which GIB will be an official sponsor of the Bahrain International Air Show 2022. The agreement was signed by the BIAS Director Yusuf Mahmoud and GIB CEO Jamal Al-Kishi. The Bahrain International Air Show is organized by the Ministry of Transportation and Telecommunications and the Royal Bahraini Air Force. It is overseen by His Majesty the King's personal representative, His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamad Al Khalifa, President of the Bahrain International Air Show Supreme Organizing Committee. The Bahrain International Air Show will be held on November 9 to 11 at the Sakir Air Base. It celebrates its 10th anniversary this year. Proposal for mandatory smoke detectors in new homes. Smoke detectors and sprinklers may have to be mandatorily fitted in new homes, residential compounds and apartment buildings. The Southern Municipal Council has come up with a proposal which will be now reviewed by the Cabinet following a spate of fires in Bahrain sparked by electrical short circuits. Today's COVID updates. COVID updates brought to you by Al Hilal Hospital and Medical Centers. Now we will be back after a very short break. Welcome back. Saudi Arabia tops Arab countries in gold reserves. Statistics issued by the World Gold Council showed Saudi Arabia topped the countries in the Arab world in terms of the volume of gold reserves, which constitutes only 3.8% of its total reserves of foreign assets, which places the country in the 18th rank globally, followed by Lebanon in second place in the Arab world and 20th globally, with reserves 286.8 tons of gold at the end of July, equivalent to 50.3% of Lebanon's reserves of foreign assets. Algeria ranked third in the Arab world with 173.6 tons of gold, representing 16% of reserves, ranking 26th globally, followed by Iraq in fourth place, possessing 130.4 tons, representing 9.5% of total reserves, ranking 30th globally. Kuwait ranked 7th in the Arab world and second among GCC countries in terms of central bank's reserves of gold, which amounted to be about 79 tons at the end of last July, representing 8.7% of its total reserves. NEOM's The Line to go live fully on artificial intelligence. The Line, the flagship development in Saudi Arabia's $500 billion megacity project NEOM, will make use of artificial intelligence technology to the fullest, according to its CEO, Nathmi Al Nasser. While talking at the Global Artificial Intelligence Summit on September 13 in Riyadh, Al Nasser noted that the strategic works in the planning phase of NEOM was successful and execution is progressing steadily. Al Nasser noted that construction at NEOM started 9 months ago. He said that over 10 million people will be accommodated in NEOM, and everything that happens within the city will be monitored and enabled by artificial intelligence technologies. He pointed out that NEOM aims to bring a revolution in urban design planning and livability. Al Nasser added that people from 70 different nationalities are currently living in NEOM. He further noted that NEOM will bring together the best talents globally and regionally as it pursues its artificial intelligence ambitions. Safety advisories issued as UAE hit with heavy rains. Rains of different intensities and hail hit parts of the UAE on Tuesday, prompting the police and municipal authorities to issue safety advisories. Heavy rains with ice fell over Dubai's Murkba and Sharjah's Melha. The National Center of Meteorology also reported heavy rain with hail over Sharjah's Al Fayah Valley area. UAE's weather department has issued code red, orange and yellow alerts for some areas. The authority reported heavy to moderate rains in Sharjah's Al Madam, Batay and Mleha areas. It also reported light rains in Al Ain. Meanwhile, the highest temperature recorded on this day was 46.2 degrees Celsius in Al Ain. The National Center of Meteorology had earlier predicted rainfall in some eastern areas, with 40 km/h winds expected to kick up dust. Kuwait authorities moved to speed up deportation of illegals. The government has given clear instructions to detain all Iqama violators and deport them immediately, as it is evidently by ongoing surprise campaigns the Ministry of Interior is conducting in densely populated areas. The Foreign Ministry, in coordination with the Interior Ministry, has contacted embassies in Kuwait and requested the appointment of a liaison officer at each embassy to obtain identification papers to facilitate the deportation process of residency violators, especially since some of them lost their documents or passports due to various reasons. The Ministry of Interior has asked embassies through a foreign ministry to speed up the issuance of travel documents of violators, as it will be strict in issuing fines against all violators who attempt to evade arrest or did not leave the country within the specified time frame. As no new grace periods will be announced to leave without fines, as the government believes this method is not effective. Sources also revealed the Interior Ministry has found expatriates without any documentation, and some are children of expatriate residency violators. But the embassies of their countries do not recognize them because their parents did not apply for their official registration, whether in Kuwait government records or with embassies. They do not have valid documents that allow them to register their children, noting that the number of these violators is not small. FDA refuses to provide key COVID-19 vaccine safety analysis. US drug regulators are refusing to provide key analysis of a COVID-19 vaccine safety database, claiming that the factual findings cannot be separated by internal discussions protected by law. The Epoch Times asked the Food and Drug Administration in July for all analysis performed by the agency for the COVID-19 vaccines using a method called empirical Bayesian data mining, which involves comparing the adverse events recorded after a specific COVID-19 vaccine with those recorded after vaccination with non-COVID-19 vaccines, according to operating procedures laid out by the agency and its partner in January 2021 and February 2022. The FDA would perform data mining at least bi-weekly to identify adverse events reported more frequently than expected following vaccination with COVID-19 vaccines. The agency would perform the mining of data from the vaccine adverse event reporting system. Eiffel Tower to go dark earlier as Paris saves energy. Lights on the Eiffel Tower will soon be turned off more than an hour earlier at night to save electricity, the Paris mayor announced. As an energy crisis in Europe deepens, Mayor Anne Hidalgo said the iconic tower that is normally illuminated until 1 a.m. is only one of the city's monuments in municipal buildings that will be plunged into darkness earlier in the evening as the French capital, like the rest of France and Europe, faces risks of power shortages, rationing and blackouts when energy demand surges this winter. Russia has reduced natural gas supplies to several European countries, sending prices for gas and electricity surging. It has fueled inflation and raised fears about shrinking supplies as the heating season draws near, forcing countries to enact conservation measures and relief for consumers and businesses. Casket of Queen Elizabeth II arrived at Buckingham Palace. The coffin of Queen Elizabeth II returned to Buckingham Palace on Tuesday evening, making its way through a drizzly London as crowds lined the route for a glimpse of the hearse and to bid her a final farewell. People parked their cars along a normally busy road, got out and waved as the hearse, with lights inside illuminating the flag-draped coffin, made its way into London. In the city, people pressed in on the road and held their phones aloft as it passed. Thousands outside the palace cheered, shouted, "God save the Queen," and clapped as the hearse swung around a roundabout in front of the Queen's official London residence and through the wrought iron gates. Her son, King Charles III, and other immediate family members waited inside. According to the Associated Press, the coffin travelled to London from Edinburgh, where 33,000 people filed silently past it in the 24 hours at St. Giles Cathedral after it had been brought there from her cherished summer retreat, Balmoral. The Queen, the only monarch many in the United Kingdom have ever known, died there September 8th at age 26 after 70 years on the throne. Air India Express flight caught fire in Muscat and 145 passengers evacuated. Over 140 passengers had to be evacuated on Wednesday after an Air India Express flight IX442 operating from Muscat to Cochin experienced smoke and fire from its engine number 2 during taxi for takeoff. The aircraft B737-800 registered as VTAXZ during taxi for takeoff at Muscat experienced smoke and fire in engine number 2. All passengers and the crew were, however, evacuated safely. An official familiar with the development said, "The passengers have been transported to the terminal building and a relief flight will be organized for flying them back," the official added. Director General of Civil Aviation, Director General Arun Kumar, said that they are investigating and taking appropriate action. Officials from the Aviation Ministry told that an observer alerted about engine fire after all necessary actions were taken and sites were deployed for the evacuation of passengers on the taxiway. A few passengers have bruises due to evacuation, a local airport official told. A statement from the Air India Express is awaited. With that, we come to the end of today's news. Stay tuned for daily news updates in BMC News Live English at 7:30 p.m. every day. I'm Vinod Narayan signing off from BMC News Live. Good night.